There are very few LEGO remakes that are done in the exact same scale, let alone the exact same price range when even adjusted for inflation. And the Nightbus is a prime example of that, and I've got some very mixed feelings on it. As today we're going to be taking a look at every single LEGO Nightbus set that they have ever released and comparing it to the brand new and latest edition. This is set 76446 Nightbus Adventure, which comes with 499 pieces and retails for $50 US, 80 Australian and 45 Great British pounds, complete with 4 minifigures. This is now the 5th official Nightbus set to have ever released and the 4th at this exact same scale. But with that being said, when The Prisoner of Azkaban first released in 2004, there were actually 2 Nightbuses that came out, one being an actual set and the other being a promotional polybag. And then in 2011 we got our next Nightbus, which is also probably why we saw one in 2019 very quickly after Harry Potter got rebooted, and now 6 years later we have seen the latest edition. Outside of the polybag, which was never a product that was actually sold and was only ever given away for free, the remaining of the Nightbuses, adjusted for inflation, all sit at that same $50 US mark. But despite all of this, I still feel like we haven't seen the perfect playset Nightbus. Starting off, let's take a look at the odd one out with set 4695, the Nightbus, which has 58 pieces, and again, it was only given away as a free gift. No minifigures were included in this polybag, but there is an exclusive Nightbus pintured brick, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cute and relatively to scale, however, I don't think this is necessarily a set that anyone really needs to go out and buy unless you were specifically after a tiny Nightbus. Then also released in 2004 was set 4755, the Nightbus, and at the time it retailed for $30 US and 25 Great British pounds. It has 242 pieces and 2 minifigures, and also included in this set is a tiny little lamppost and the Grim. However, I cannot find that. This Nightbus set is one of a handful that I look at when it comes to older Harry Potter sets and really wanted and admired for a very long time, and I still feel like this set is relatively good, all things considered. It definitely shows its age, specifically when it comes to the building style, as well as a lot of the build techniques and pieces used. However, one thing I really love about this set is the use of printed elements. These printed Nightbus tiles on the front and back are incredible, and most importantly, I love the shrunken head print on the windscreen. The exterior for the Nightbus is pretty good overall, though it's not something that I would necessarily say is very accurate. Though I will give it a little bit of grace, since back then they would have been working off strictly concept art, and also there was not the range of pieces that there are in the modern day. The main design highlight for me, besides the printed elements though, is the curved roof. I really feel like it completes off the Nightbus and is one of the cleanest looking roofs that I feel like we have seen. It serves the main features you would need, however it is also the only Nightbus that does not feature the swinging chandelier, which is quite interesting. You also don't get Ernie Prang in this set and only get Harry and Stan Shunpike, so there technically isn't anyone to navigate the bus, and it is also the only bus that doesn't feature that proper back end section for Stan Shunpike to stand. And given how inaccurate the shape was, it's kind of interesting to look at it now and just see how closely the 2011 one resembled the original. The 2011 one is a little bit shorter than the original, however that same angled front of the Nightbus is still present and they still use the same window pieces. This time around, instead of having the shrunken head printed on the front windscreen, they ended up printing him on a round 1x1 brick in this sand green color, which I really don't think is accurate when it comes to color scheme. However, I'm glad that he was included as a physical element this time around. At the back of the bus as well, you will see that little cutout for Stan Shunpike to stand, which is pretty good, and this set also this time around did come with an Ernie Prang minifigure, which was a very welcome addition. Some other welcome additions for me include the swinging chandelier in the Nightbus, however I don't think the design is particularly all that good. This Nightbus is definitely missing a lot of room on the inside, considering how big of a cutout they did in order to have that swinging chandelier, although it does still allow you space to put Harry's trunk as well as a couple of minifigures on some small seats at the very front. And looking back now, given the time gap between these two sets, I don't actually think that the 2011 one was a big enough upgrade. So both of these were a little overwhelming, which is why in 2019, when a brand new Nightbus came around, I was very excited. And to this day, this model by far is the most unique feeling out of every single set that they have done. And a large part of that is due to how this Nightbus completely opens up on the side panel, allowing you to access the interior. Besides accessing the driver's seat, which was quite difficult in this model, I think this side panel is way more interesting to actually see and experience the inside of this bus. Having such a big open space really allowed you to properly look at the chandelier, which is a really nice design in this set. You can also see the bed properly sliding around, which this time around is a properly enclosed bed, complete with a little bed sheet. You also still had an extra seat at the back, and then in that top floor that does pop off and open like a lot of the other Nightbus sets, there was also a lot more details included this time around, including the stickered all destination tiles at the side and back of the bus, as well as some nice stickered panels at the very front in order to give the bus a little bit more extra detail and complete out that really nice grille pattern a bit more. Another highlight of this set for me personally is the use of a minifigure head to represent the shrunken head, although I do think his placement inside the driver's cockpit has a little bit to be desired since it kind of sits right in front of Ernie's face. Now, when the set originally released, all of these window pieces were brand new for this set in this specific size and configuration, and I remember at the time thinking that this looked way better and way more accurate. However, looking back at it now, I don't actually think that this was the right decision for this set. It looks really nice in the form and context of a Lego build, however, these window panels are way too tall for what we actually see in the night bus, which thankfully is something that was corrected in the most recent 2025 edition of this model. And despite both of these sets being from a much more modern age of Lego, these sets could not be more different from each other, and in a lot of ways for me, it is kind of a downgrade to see in this newer model. Now bear with me when I say this, because I do think this newer model overall is much more accurate when it comes to the exterior of the bus. This by far is the most accurate and best looking version of the night bus that we have seen, and I feel like it excels in many areas. One of my favorite features by far is having this curved back to the bus. It really just accentuates that skinny little bus feeling, and I feel like it's absolutely perfect for this model, and by far is one of my favorite features of this build. Before we properly dive into the set, let's take a look at the minifigures, starting off with Harry, who has a new torso print complete with his plaid shirt this time around, which is a really nice upgrade, but not quite as nice as Stan Shunpike's face. Stan looks incredible, and the face print is an amazing change. I do wish, however, that they kept the printing for the ticketing machine on his torso instead of using this bag, but the biggest downgrade for me is the absence of the custom molded hat. They got rid of using the custom hat for him and went back to using the standard and classic hat piece that has been used since the first ever Lego minifigure, and it is just such a massive downgrade. On a lighter note, we have Ernie Prang, who is slightly updated, with the most major difference for him being that his legs are now grey. And then lastly is a generic witch, which I'm really glad was included, because after all, Harry isn't the only passenger on the night bus, and her sleeping face is my favorite, but otherwise all of the parts on her are reused. The Grim/Sirius Black makes a return too in this set, accompanied by a small side build of a bush, park bench, and a lamppost, which I really love the design of. However, a personal complaint that I have with this set is that they got rid of that open panel feature and went back to having these 3 separate floors, just like the older versions of the night bus. Again, it makes it easier to seat Ernie and a little bit more accessible to place some minifigures on the inside. However, I feel like it really cuts off a lot of the details that make the night buses so fun. But that I can look past, considering a lot of the time with my Lego sets after I've built them, I just have them on a shelf and I want them to look accurate. I want them to feel like they came straight from the Harry Potter universe. However, there is one massive element missing from this night bus set that I cannot excuse in any way, shape, or form, and that is the absence of the shrunken head. I feel like it was such a wasted opportunity not to have him printed on the window, just like they did in 2004. I feel like that would be the easiest version. That way there's no pieces taking up a lot of space in the interior of the cockpit, and you have one of the most recognizable elements, which is that shrunken head. Without the shrunken head, who is going to tell Ernie to wake up and actually do his job?
Yeah, take it away, Ernie!
No one. Now, when it comes to the interior, I really like a couple of the stickered pieces in order to represent the wizard's belongings being stowed away. I also think the inclusion of a sleeping passenger is a really big win and something that they have not included until now. However, these individual floors and the design of the beds, I'm not a fan of. It would have been awesome if they were able to fit 2 of them in the bottom floor. However, just given how minimal the space is on the inside, I can totally see why they didn't do that. And it's interesting that this time around that they went for spinning pieces so that the beds can move side to side rather than forward and back, which we're a little bit more used to. Now let's talk about the chandelier in this set, because I do quite like the design. It is significantly shrunken down from the last version of the night bus and still swings. However, it only really swings backwards as the pieces kind of hit each other, meaning it can't have the proper swinging range of motion that I've come used to in the last couple of night buses. It's not a major deal, but I feel like it does kind of ruin a little bit of that chaos for me in the night bus, specifically when it comes to the interior. But then again, the interior is not something I particularly look at very often when it comes to me and how I display and utilize my Lego Harry Potter sets. But let me know which rendition of the night bus was your favorite, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel, and until next time, I'll see you later.